Hello all, a warm welcome. This is Saranya Venkatesh. The topic which we are going to see now is Forest Right Act of 2006. So, this is the act which enacted in 2006 that recognizes the rights of forest dwelling tribal communities and other traditional forest dwellers to forest resources on which these communities were dependent for a variety of needs, including their livelihood, habitation, and other socio-cultural needs. So, this act also strengthens the conservation regime of the forest, and also it ensures the livelihood and food security to those communities, to those tribal communities. This act gives a legal recognition of the right to these communities. Here we talk about two communities. The one is forest dwelling tribal community and the other is other traditional forest dwellers. So let's see who are the people comes under these two types of communities. According to section 2C of a Forest Rights Act of 2006, forest dwelling scheduled tribe is the one who must be a scheduled tribe in the area where the right is to be claimed, and also he has to be primarily resided in that forest land prior to December 13th of 2005, and also he has to be depend on the forest land for its basic livelihood. For his basic need, he have to depend on this forest land. So those are the people which comes under forest dwelling tribal communities. The next is other traditional forest dwellers. So those are the people who primarily resided in the forest for 3 generations. That is for 75 years prior to December 13 of 2005. Then they also have to depend on this forest for their basic livelihood needs. So those are the people which comes under forest dwelling scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers. Now let's see about the main objective of this act. The first main objective is to undo the historical injustice which has occurred against the forest dwellers in the colonial era. So now in independent India, this act recognizes the forest dwellers' individual rights over their land and also the villagers' rights to manage and conserve the forest. So when we talk about forest dwellers' individual rights, it is an individual forest right, and the villagers' rights is community forest rights. Now let's see what's the difference between the two. The individual forest right is the any right that the scheduled tribe can claim to live and cultivate up to 4 hectares of land in that area as it is of his land prior to December 13 of 2005. In the same way, a non-tribal, so this is for a tribal population, for a non-tribal, in addition, he have to prove his family's residence in the vicinity for the past 75 years to claim this individual forest rights. Then, community forest right is, it is the right given to Gram Sabha over the forest land within the village boundaries, and also collect, use and dispose of minor forest produce, and also using of grazing land, water bodies, and also they have a right to protect, regenerate any community resources. Any forest resources they can regenerate and protect. So these are the rights given to a Gram Sabha. So this is the community forest rights. Now let's see the implementation of this Forest Right Act of 2006. It always starts with a Gram Sabha. So Gram Sabha is the authority to initiate the process to vest rights among those communities. So once the Gram Sabha initiate the process, after the assessment and after it receives claims from the communities, it passes a resolution to a subdivisional level committee. This subdivisional level committee was formed by the state government. So if the 1 or 2 communities are not satisfied by the resolution which has been passed by Gram Sabha, they may file a petition to a subdivisional level committee. So once the subdivisional level committee assesses the process, it also passes a resolution to a district level committee. So this district level committee's decision is final and it is binding. We also have a state level monitoring committee. The main aim of this committee is to monitor the process of recognition of these rights. So this monitoring committee will only monitor the process, but the real power of approving and the decisions final and binding will be district level committee's decision. Then who are all the officers involved in these committees? The first is officers of Department of Revenue of State Government, then the officers of Department of Forest of State Government, officers of Department of Tribal Affairs of State Government. Then the important thing is there will be 3 members of Panchayati Raj institution, including 2 scheduled tribe members, and 1 member will be at least 1 woman. 1 woman member should be there. So out of these 3 members from Panchayati Raj, 2 will be from scheduled tribe and 1 woman member will be there. Then we have 4 types of rights under this Forest Rights Act of 2006. Let's see one by one. The first is title rights. So as we saw earlier in the individual forest rights, this title rights gives the right to ownership to land farmed by tribals to a maximum of 4 hectares. So this is a title rights, that is individual forest rights given to those tribal communities. The next is use rights. Use rights is, as we saw earlier, when we talk about Gram Sabha rights, we spoke about the use of minor forest produce, grazing areas, water. So these are the use rights given to them. The next one is relief and development rights. So they have a protection against illegal eviction or forced displacement, and also to the basic amenities for the forest land provided to them. So it is the relief and development rights which is provided to those communities. The next is forest management rights. So this right is the right to protect, regenerate and also manage any community forest resource that has been traditionally protecting and conserving for sustainable use. This is the very important rights given to those communities and to Gram Sabha to use the forest sustainable and also to maintain the ecological balance of the forest. So what is the significance of the Act? We have talked about the rights and we have talked about the implementation procedure. Now let's see what is the main significance of this Act. The first and most significance of this Act is when we talk about community forest rights, it enables all the villages, even including landless people, to access, use and sell the minor forest produce. We also have evidence that after the introduction of this community forest rights, the household income from a bamboo harvesting have increased. So those people have actually benefited from these type of rights. Then there is also a possibility of reverse migration. Those who have migrated from the forest can come back to the forest, and this will reduce the forest fire. How? Because this will reduce forest fire due to regular patrolling and monitoring by the villagers, and it also promotes the sustainable management of the forest. And also the next thing is when we talk about the 5th and 6th schedule of the Constitution, which talks about the administering and controlling of scheduled tribes and scheduled areas, this Act, it expands the mandate of those schedules, because it protects the claims of the indigenous communities over their land and the forest. The next is this Act, it also secures the right of the displaced communities. So for example, this alienation of tribes, this displaced communities were even one of the factors behind the Naxal movement, which affects most states in India like Chhattisgarh, Odisha and Jharkhand. So when we give the rights to these alienated tribes, when we give rights to this displaced communities, even those kind of movements can also be reduced. The next thing, it also protects the intellectual property rights and traditional knowledge related to cultural diversity and biodiversity. So on the whole, this Forest Right Act is capable of, first is, since the Gram Sabhas being a part of it, it is empowering a local self-governance, and also it addresses the issues of poverty alleviation, and also the next foremost thing is it conserves and manages the natural resources and helps in sustainable use of the forest. So recently, Odisha has become the first state to implement this act by making a budgetary provision for the implementation of the Central Act. So it has allocated 8 crore for a 168 Forest Right Act sales in 2021 and 22. the state not only ensuring terminal security and entitlement over land, but it also addressing a livelihood and food security under the act. So out of 13 PVGTs, that is particularly vulnerable tribal groups, that is identified in Odisha, the habitat rights have been processed for 11 groups. So it is very important that the government, both at the central and the state level, are strengthened with human and financial resources to help implement this Forest Right Act on a mission mode. Besides this, we should also have a forest bureaucracy must also be reformed to serve as a service providers to Gram Sabha, since the Gram Sabha plays a major role in this act. And also it is the one who initiate the process of giving rights to those communities and tribal people. So this is all about this topic. I hope you understood. If you have any doubt, leave your doubts in the comment section, hit the like button and subscribe to Get Into IAS. I'll see you soon in the next video. Thank you so much. This is Saranya Venkatesh.